Thanks for joining us for our Fight for Faith video series. It's of 5-minute devotionals each day, and you can find a whole lot more if you like this one or you're interested in seeing some of the ones from the past. Go ahead and click on our website, northalbany.org. This past weekend I had a chance to go to Southern California for a backyard wedding, and I met my brother at the airport and we took off. Right before we took off, he, like we often do, we got into some discussion, and he posed this question. He said, I think God's main attribute is love. In fact, it trumps everything. Everything he does, everything he chooses to do is generated out of his attribute of love. And he said, hey, what do you think of that? Well, we had oodles of time, as you can imagine, as we flew down south, as we spent time at the hotel. In fact, we asked other people what they thought of this. And here's what we came up with. We said that God is defined by love. That is, his main attribute is who he is, and everything he does is filtered through that and translates into how he does things. Interesting. So what does that look like for us in our lives? Well, first I think we have to wrestle with the fact that we know God is love, but we know God is wrathful, for instance. We know God is a compassionate God, yet we know that he is a God of judgment. We have a God who said, I love Jacob, but yet he says in that same verse, Esau I hated. How can we reconcile that? Well, I believe these two truths are evident in God's character. But I think what he does is he chooses to see things first out of the lens of love. Loving first. And if you've been a Christian for any time at all, you know that God is love. In fact, we know where we can find that message. 1 John is where we could turn to when he says that God is love. And if you don't have love, you don't love at all. We also can turn to the book of the Gospel of John. And we all know John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Why? He gave his only son, right? He gave it all. We know these verses. I'm reminded of a conversation that Jesus had with Peter. And again, you certainly remember this time. It's, again, right at the end of the Gospel of John. And he ends with approaching Peter, Jesus does. And he wants to share something with him. And he gets right to the heart of the matter. And he says, Peter, do you love me? And Peter kind of says, yeah, I like you, Lord. If we were to dig into the text of that, many of you have heard this, that the Greeks often use different words for love. In fact, they had 5 words for love. One of them was the highest kind of love, an unconditional kind of love, even a divine love, and that would be agape love. The other one would be more of a brotherly love, or a love you'd have for a family member even, that we would call philia or phileo, this brotherly love where we get Philadelphia. And so this is the dialogue that's happening with Jesus and Peter. And so it happens that way twice. Jesus says, do you agape me? And Peter comes back with, sure, God. Yes, Lord, I love you as a brother. The third time is interesting. Jesus says, but Peter, what's your deal? You just phileo me? You just love me as a brother? And the Bible says that Peter was kind of cut to the heart. He was a little bit upset about that. He says, I love you like a brother. We could put a lot of things into action there. But maybe it's the thought that Peter could not attain to this kind of love. Maybe Jesus was asking too much. I don't know. But the point is that Jesus wanted to say, would you desire to be righteous in a way that you would be without condition when you love my people? He used the term goats and sheep in that passage. Are you willing to lay your life down, Peter? And we know that Peter died tragically for the Lord. But how about us? The point is, in this brief little time we have, can we truly love God like that? What if Jesus was asking us those questions? What would we say? Could we reach the ability to be unconditional in our love? To be with the divine kind of a love that's only defined by God? Maybe, and maybe not. But what I'm saying is here, folks, that we should pursue it with all that we are. It would be God's desire to have compassion first and love first. Now, here's where I'm going to get excited, because what if Dave had that lens about him as a Christian, that love is first in my mind? What would that look like as I was considering somebody, I was looking at somebody? Would I be critical first, or would I be loving first? Would I be judgmental, or would I listen to them with that particular lens, that filter of love? Man, that really cuts me to the core to think, would I do that with my children? Would I do that with my spouse? Would I do that with someone who I absolutely disagree with their lifestyle or the choices that they're making? The first thing I do is have that lens of love. Folks, I think that's what God would call us as Christians to do. Being godly in our love first, as godly people only can do. One that resembles who He is in the fullness of that word. So folks, as you look at this, let us treat each other in love first as we try to pursue righteousness. Thanks so much for watching.